Alright, it's time for another double indie game review. For this episode, we have Planet Cube Edge and Sorry We're Open. One game that's about the perils of platforming, and the other about the perils of capitalism. With Planet Cube Edge, this is a challenging 2D platformer that combines the run and gun of, say, a Mega Man with the challenge and movement tech or environmental obstacle focus of some more modern day platformers. We play as Edge, who is a citizen of Cube World, not to be confused, I guess, with the same Cube World as the last Cube. But our side of the cube is being invaded by evil people trying to steal our water, and we are going to have to fight back through platforming, shooting, and a whole lot of dying as well. Each one of the game's 8 stages will involve you going through a myriad of obstacles and challenges. There are hidden areas and MacGuffins to collect off the beaten path. The main tech in this game is that you can move, jump, and you have 2 different kinds of shooting. You have your normal bullet that does damage, and your charge shot that can stun enemies, enabling you to then quickly kill them or stop them from attacking you. Each one of the stages does have quite a variety of environmental designs. Each level will have some kind of unique mechanic to it. One level is all underwater, one involves air or platforms that move around, and the game really does keep you on your toes, despite only having very limited mechanics in terms of the actual character. But make no mistake, this is a very challenging game. You only have one hit normally, and that means that anything can kill you very fast. Now, to help you, and I think one of the best parts of this game is that it is incredibly generous when it comes to checkpointing. Unlike other platformers that have larger rooms and you only checkpoint, let's say, at the end of the room, this game will frequently have checkpoints in larger areas, sometimes 2 or even 3 depending upon the size of the room, and this means that you're never really losing a ton of progress on death. Even during boss fights, the game will checkpoint after you beat each phase, and that is good because some of these boss fights can be quite difficult to deal with. But other than that, this is one of those games that is a very solid and entertaining 2D platformer. This is definitely not for casual fans of the genre. Again, this game asks a whole lot of you. But the different difficulties, the different checkpointing does help out a lot. There's only one room, I think it's in the underwater level, that proved to be a little bit frustrating as there wasn't any checkpoints. And if you're hoping for even more challenge, there is an unlockable kind of hardcore mode where you only have 1 life per stage. But with that said, this is a really great game. If you're looking for a platformer to really show off, or one that's going to challenge you, definitely check out Planet Cube Edge. But with that said, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we have our next game to look at for this review. If you're interested in my thoughts on design, then be sure to check out my game design books. For entry-level students, we have 20 Essential Games to Study, and then the Game Design Deep Dive series that takes an extensive look at different genres, with more coming soon. We now turn to Sorry We're Open. This is the sequel to No Delivery, a game that involved Lovecraftian horrors and children's pizzeria and entertainment places. This time, we are an employee for the Corporate Ladder, a big box store that has bought up all the major department, grocery, and so on in the area. As the newly appointed manager, we are going to keep our store profitable, hire employees, and not be concerned about why no one is showing up and there's weird noises and bodies keep turning up in unusual places. This is a kind of, I guess, horror RPG, somewhat of a roguelite in a strange way. How this works is that your mission is to complete different days at different parts of the mall. Each part of the mall is kind of like its own little quasi-quest with random events. You'll decide which ones to do and how you best will handle them. When you get into combat, you and your employees that you've hired will have to deal with whatever and whoever you may find. Now, when you complete a day, you'll unlock money, and sometimes you complete the entire shift from day to night. You will unlock a special item, which in turn will unlock more of the world. And as you explore the world, you'll find ways of upgrading characters, new areas, more story and lore. And you'll kind of go into other stores, which kind of acts as this game's quasi-dungeons, complete with their own boss fights. Like No Delivery, there's definitely that kind of unnerving charm to this one, as you just kind of get down that rabbit hole as things get weirder and weirder for you. And I did enjoy this one. Now, with that said, this game does have a kind of polarizing element to it, and that is your money is actually your universal MP. Every character has different skills relating to their job that you can use during combat, and everything has a dollar cost to it, except for kind of a starter skill that takes your own life to use. And when you're starting out in the game, it can be very hard to keep money and get through the days and night shifts. But once you get through kind of like your first two major appointments, even clear the first dungeon, you'll suddenly be, well, literally overflowing with cash, and you can just basically pay your way to victory at that point. And it does lead to Sorry We're Open have kind of like a reverse difficulty curve. Once I cleared that first dungeon, I was just throwing money at all the problems that were coming up, and it was working really well. This is definitely not going to be a hard RPG to play, and it is easier to play and kind of get off the ground running compared to No Delivery. And I do hope we see more of this style from the developer, as it was getting very interesting in terms of the lore and the story near the end. So if you're looking for an RPG that deals with the, I guess, horror of the 9 to 5 work shift, this is an interesting one to play. And there is certainly enough here to kind of keep your attention without being like super long of an experience. But with that, we're going to wrap up this double short and sweet review. Thank you so much for watching. You'll find links to the games down below. Let me tell you your game for a future piece. Please reach out. Visit our Discord and Patreon, do all the bell ringing, subscribing, and so on. And come back for daily discussions on game design here and on Game Wisdom, where we examine the art and science of games.